Hello again, Dan Alasso, Making History, and I've got another reading for you from early American history. And once again, we're still in Latin America, but we're on our way to North America, I think. And this one is from 1531. It was written by Hernando Pizarro, the brother of the commander of the expedition and the governor, Francisco Pizarro. So this is a story of Pizarro's conquest in South America. And so, here we begin. Magnificent lords, I arrived in this port of Yaguana on my way to Spain by order of the governor, Francisco Pizarro, to inform His Majesty of what has happened in that government of Peru, to give an account of the country and of its present condition. The governor, in the name of His Majesty, founded a town near the seacoast, which was called San Miguel. It is 25 leagues from that point to Tumbes. Having left citizens there and assigned the Indians in the district to them, he set out with 60 horse and 90 foot in search of the town of Caxamalca, at which place he was informed that Atabaliva, and that is an old spelling that they use for one of the two claimants to the Inca imperial throne, who we generally call Atahualpa now. His brother, whom he was fighting in a civil war, was named Huascar. And they were both younger sons of Huayna Capac, who had died, probably of smallpox, in Quito, in what's now Ecuador, at the northernmost extremity of his Inca Empire, which he had just sort of finished consolidating. And this is all kind of the pre-story. So now I'll get back to the story as Hernando Pizarro is telling it. As I was saying, at which place he was informed that Atahualpa, I'll call him for the rest of this, then was the son of old Cusco, and the brother of him who is now lord of that land. Between the two brothers there had been a very fierce war, and this Atahualpa had conquered the land as far as he then was, which from the point whence he started was 150 leagues. After 7 or 8 marches, a captain of Atahualpa came to the governor and said that his lord had heard of his arrival and rejoiced greatly at it, having a strong desire to see the Christians. And when he had been 2 days with the governor, he said that he wished to go forward and tell the news to his lord, and that another would soon be on the road with a present as a token of peace. The governor continued his march until he came to a town called La Ramada. Up to that point, all the land was flat, while all beyond was very rugged and obstructed by very difficult passes. When we saw that the messenger from Atahualpa did not return, he wished to obtain intelligence from some Indians who had come from Caxamalca. So they were tortured. And they then said that they had heard that Atahualpa was waiting for the governor in the mountains to give him battle. The government then ordered the troops to advance, leaving the rearguard in the plain. The rest ascended, and the road was so bad that, in truth, if they had been waiting for us, either in this pass or in another that we came to on the road to Caxamalca, they could very easily have stopped us. For even by exerting all our skill, we could not have taken the horses by the roads. The distance across them to Caxamalca is 20 leagues. When we were halfway, messengers arrived from Atahualpa and brought provisions to the governor. They said that Atahualpa was waiting for him at Caxamalca, wishing to be his friend, and that he wished the governor to know that his captains, whom he had sent to the war of Cusco, had taken his brother prisoner, that they would reach Caxamalca within 2 days, and that all the territory of his father now belonged to him. The governor sent back to say that he rejoiced greatly at this news, and that if there was any lord who refused to submit, he would give assistance and subjugate him. 2 days afterwards, the governor came in sight of Caxamalca, and he met Indians with food. He put the troops in order and marched to the town. Atahualpa was not there, but was encamped on the plain at a distance of a league, with all his people in tents. When the governor saw that Atahualpa did not come, he sent a captain with 15 horsemen to speak to Atahualpa, saying that he would not assign quarters to the Christians until he knew where it was the pleasure of Atahualpa that they should lodge, and he desired him to come that they might be friends. He said that 4 marches from that spot, there were some very rebellious Indians who would not submit to him, and that the Christians might go there to help his troops. I said that the governor would send 10 horsemen who would suffice for the whole country, and that his Indians were unnecessary, except to search for those who had concealed themselves. He smiled like a man who did not think so much of us. The captain told me that until I came, he had not been able to get him to speak, but that one of his chiefs had answered for him, while he always kept his head down. He was seated in all the majesty of command, surrounded by all his women, with many chiefs near him. That night, a good lookout was kept. In the morning, he sent messengers to put off his visit until the afternoon, and these messengers, in conversing with some Indian girls in the service of the Christians, who were their relations, told them to run away because Atahualpa was coming that afternoon to attack the Christians and kill them. Among the messengers, there came that captain who had already met the governor on the road. He told the governor that his lord Atahualpa said that as the Christians had come armed to his camp, he also would come armed. The governor replied that he might come as he liked. Atahualpa set out from his camp at noon, and when he came to a place which was about half a quarter of a league from Caxamalca, he stopped until late in the afternoon. The governor sent a Christian, and presently Atahualpa moved, leaving the armed men behind him. He took with him 5,000 or 6,000 Indians without arms, except that under their shirts they had small darts and slings with stones. He came in a litter, and before him went 300 or 400 Indians in liveries, cleaning the straws from the road and singing. Then came Atahualpa in the midst of his chiefs and principal men, the greatest among them being also borne on men's shoulders. When they entered the open space, 12 or 15 Indians went up to the little fortress that was there and occupied it, taking possession with a banner fixed on a lance. When Atahualpa had advanced to the center of the open space, he stopped, and a Dominican friar who was with the governor came forward to tell him, on the part of the governor, that he waited for him in his lodging, and that he was sent to speak with him. The friar told Atahualpa that he was a priest, and that he was sent there to teach the things of the faith, if they should desire to be Christians. He showed Atahualpa a book which he carried in his hands, and told him that the book contained the things of God. Atahualpa asked for the book and threw it on the ground, saying, "I will not leave this place until you have restored all you have taken in my land. I know well who you are and what you have come for." Then he rose in his litter and addressed his men, and there were murmurs among them and calls to those who were armed. The friar went to the governor and reported what was being done, and that no time was to be lost. The governor sent to me, and I had arranged with the captain of the artillery that when the sign was given, he should discharge his pieces, and that on hearing the reports, all the troops should come forth at once. This was done, and as the Indians were unarmed, they were defeated without danger to any Christian. Those who carried the litter and the chiefs who surrounded Atahualpa were all killed, falling round him. The governor came out and seized Atahualpa, and in protecting him, he received a knife cut from a Christian in the hand. The troops continued the pursuit as far as the place where the armed Indians were stationed, who made no resistance whatever, because it was now night. All were brought into the town where the governor was quartered. The governor said that he had not come to make war on the Indians, but that our Lord the Emperor, who was Lord of the whole world, had ordered him to come, that he might see the land and let Atahualpa know the things of our faith, in case he should wish to become a Christian. The governor also said that the land and all the other lands belonged to the emperor, and that he must acknowledge him as his lord. He replied that he was content, and observing that the Christians had collected some gold, Atahualpa said to the governor that they need not take such care of it as if there was so little, for that he could give them 10,000 plates, and that he could fill the room in which he was up to a white line, which was the height of a man and a half from the floor. The room was 17 or 18 feet wide and 35 feet long. He said that he could do this in 2 months. After returning to Caxamalca and reporting my proceedings to the governor, he ordered me to go to Spain and to give an account to His Majesty of this and other things which appertain to his service. I took from the heap of gold 100,000 castellanos for His Majesty, being the amount of his fifth. The day after I left Caxamalca, the Christians who had gone to Cusco returned and brought 1.5 million of gold. After I arrived in Panama, another ship came in with some knights. They say that a distribution of the gold was made, and that the share of His Majesty, besides the 100,000 pesos and the 5,000 marcos of silver that I bring, was another 165,000 castellanos and 7,000 or 8,000 marcos of silver, while to all those of us who had gone, a further share of gold was sent. After my departure, according to what the governor writes to me, it became known that Atahualpa had assembled troops to make war on the Christians, and justice was done upon him. The governor made his brother, who was his enemy, lord in his place. Molina comes to this city, and from him your worships may learn anything else that you may desire to know. The shares of the troops were: to the horsemen 9,000 castellanos, to the governor 6,000, to me 3,000. The governor has derived no other profit from that land, nor has there been deceit or fraud in the account. I say this to your worships, because if any other statement is made, this is the truth. May our Lord long guard and prosper the magnificent persons of your worships. So I think, although that's not the last of the Latin American writings, the next one actually is going to take place in North America, at least. But I did think it was interesting and useful to talk a little bit about the century or more of exploration and conquest that the Spanish especially, and also a little bit the Portuguese, did in Central and South America before Spaniards and then the French and the Swedish and the English ultimately came to North America. So I hope you found that a little bit interesting. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you again very soon.